Day trading is a lot like roasting a marshmallow. Getting a perfect entry is about being as close to the flame as possible without getting burned. It takes time and patience. Fucking shit! What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So it's Friday, it's the weekend, we made it, congratulations. Welcome back to the channel. I'll give you 3 guesses as to what the price of Bitcoin is, and the first 2 don't count. If you said $11,700, well, you are correct because it's $11,753. We are literally at the exact same levels. We've been bouncing around. It's been one of the bumpiest weeks we've had with volatility, but we keep finding ourselves at this $11,700 level. And let me tell you guys, we are very, very close to the end of this wedge, and we are looking for an explosive Bitcoin move, maybe within the next 24 hours, most likely by the weekend. So we're going to talk about that. Also want to talk about something that happened to Bitcoin recently that we haven't seen in a year and a half. Major bullish. Stick around for that. And yeah, definitely just going to talk about the chart, short-term, long-term, and what these prices are that we're looking at. Also, we're seeing more of this turmoil. We have, issues with Brexit. Now, India's coming out and saying more stuff against banning Bitcoin again. I thought that we had cleared this all up. Lots of stuff to talk about today. You're definitely going to want to stick around to the end of this video. And if it's your first time checking out the Crypto Zombie channel and you are not subscribed, well, I think at this point you're probably missing out because we do this every single day, and you guys know, Ledger Nano S giveaway every Monday. All you guys got to do is comment on literally any video, but yeah, we are just going sideways and sideways. So let me give this a quick refresh live. Having a look right here, you will notice that Bitcoin dominance is up to 69.6% on coin market cap. This is crazy. We're seeing altcoins bleeding. What is up with Ethereum? Ethereum is down 5% today. That's crazy. Where did that come from? But yeah, having a look at the gainers today, we have Wixlar up 60%. Oh, guys, $2,658 worth of volume. Yeah, we should all run out and buy some Wixlar. Definitely should not. Crypto.com, VestChain, ClipperCoin, Ren, Next, Bytecoin, Lisk, Tezos actually had a pretty nice pump the other day. Energy again, and Golem. So having a look at the fear and greed index, what's interesting is we're not really any different from yesterday. Surprise, surprise, we've been going sideways for how long now? But yeah, it's still sitting around 60, so it's, mildly in the greedy territory, not full on greed, okay? But having a look right here, anyone can see this with their own eyes. We're above all of these pretty much, moving averages on the 4-hour. We're even sitting above the 21 exponential on the 4-hour, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of this wedge. So we are looking for an incredible breakout. Now, we already had the breakout of this other, falling wedge that we had right here, but we're sitting above it, and where that resistance was before is now currently acting as support. So this isn't really the chart that I want to focus on today. What I really want to look at is the fact that not only are we coming to the end of this, I guess you could call it almost like a bull pennant, right? But also you'll notice down here, volume is decreasing. Just look at this. You can clearly see the volume is getting lower and lower and lower. And when you get decreasing volume and we're getting closer and closer to the end and we're coiling up, this is the perfect storm for a massive breakout. And actually, I'm going to just play a quick clip from last night's interview I did with Crypto Savy. He was also pointing out something interesting on the RSI, and he gave us his projected measured move and where he thinks Bitcoin is going to go. So just check that out super quick.
See how the RSI is popping out of the falling wedge here, right there? We're not out of the triangle yet, but that's
actually moving right now.
Yeah, that's a good sign that, like I said, we could get up, wake up in the morning and be up 13 or even more. But that's my measured move is 13 after the breakout of here.
So you think if we break out to the upside, we're hitting 13K?
I do think we're hitting 13K. I'm almost
soon,
positive,
at least a couple days, or how soon?
It could be this weekend, man.
So you can see that Crypto Savvy is calling for a $13,000 Bitcoin potentially by the end of this weekend if we have a breakout to the upside. But the other thing I wanted to also point out is this resistance that we have here from this trend line that started way back on May 11th. Now, this was originally acting as support. It became resistance, flipped back into support, and it's currently acting as resistance again. So I do think that not only would we have to break out of that region, but I do think we'd need to get above and stay above $12,500 in order to have that bullish momentum personally, because if not, then you could find ourselves coming down to some of these lower lows, maybe retesting around that $9,900 level. Not saying that we're going to, but I just want to keep things realistic on the channel, right? Also, the one thing to note though is that Bitcoin has only spent about 63 days in its history where it closed above today's price. And actually, if we switch that to Australian dollars, it's only a mere 38 days. In fact, we're coming up to a very crucial level right here. This is around $13,900, okay? Just before $14,000. And the reason that we bring this up is because if we get the wicks out and we just look at the monthly opens and closes, okay? So I'm not talking about the wicks, just where we opened and where we closed. You could see that in December, we actually closed at around that $13,900 level right here. So if Bitcoin is able to get above this level and close, well then chances are we are probably not coming back to any of these lower levels anytime soon, and you could pretty much kiss these lower prices goodbye, okay? But here is the thing. Here is the big thing that I want to talk about, and this is the thing that has not happened to Bitcoin in over a year and a half. In fact, it hasn't happened in 20 months, and that is the fact that Bitcoin's dominance is now currently sitting at 71.1% over on TradingView. So this is even higher than what we were looking at over at CoinMarketCap, and you can see that the highest it ever was about 69.89%, and that was back on December 7th of 2017.
The prophecy is true.
This is definitely not looking good for altcoins, looking very good for Bitcoin, not looking good for altcoins. So I do want to quick touch on that as well, because you're seeing things like this come out from Dave the Wave. He says, after a massive run-up, possible head and shoulders forming on the total market cap, signifying maybe we need to go back down a little bit lower. But here's the thing, considering the fact that the altcoins have been taking a hit against the Bitcoin comparative, and some of them even to the dollar comparative, if you do believe that Bitcoin needs a retracement and we do need to go down to these lower lows, well then I'm just going to be honest with you, the altcoins are going to get hit harder. If Bitcoin takes a 15% hit, your altcoins are probably going to see a 20, 25 to 30% hit, okay? Not all of them, but I would say the majority of them. You can see right here, Roger Quantrillo says altcoins ready to buy 50% cheaper November. So, not trying to create FUD, not saying anything, but currently, all the eyes are on Bitcoin, right? And it is very different this time. And I want to tell you why in just a second. So don't go anywhere. Stick around for this. But really quick, you could see that a lot of people have looked at the reason for this altcoin boom, this alt season in 2017, basically being a bubble. You have Larry Cermak. He is a research analyst, and he pointed out, you could look at the US dollar returns of ICOs. They have clearly plummeted, most of them in the negatives, okay, this year alone. And you could see that the maximum amount of capital that was raised, the funds that were raised for ICOs, happened, I'm sure you wouldn't not believe this, but December of 2017, when everybody just had the hopium and we were going to the moon and nobody thought we were ever going to come down. And that's when everyone was just throwing money left and right at all these different ICOs, right? Well, we know what happened. You can see ICO return data is even harder to come by simply because most of the projects have already closed their doors or because their tokens are completely illiquid. You can see right here, the numbers have drastically gone down, and what's even more interesting is the fact that only 10.8% of ICOs still provide a positive return as far as USD is concerned. When compared against Bitcoin, gets even worse. Only 30 ICOs, or only about 7.7%, have outperformed Bitcoin, and Cermak found that 74% of all ICOs dropped more than 90% in terms of Bitcoin. In fact, the median Bitcoin return is about negative 91%. So I understand everybody out there that's holding these altcoins waiting for the alt season, but here's the thing. There's no confirmation on an alt season yet. Bitcoin dominance is growing. Everything is showing. All odds are betting against the altcoins right now, okay? So all I'm saying is if you do believe in the altcoins, that sounds great. Maybe now could be a great time to accumulate, but most likely we're not going to see an alt season until Bitcoin gets back to some of those all-time highs. Maybe we're not looking at 20K. Maybe it's just that $14,000 level that I showed you on the chart, back here. Maybe we just need to get to, back to some of these levels. Okay? But that being said, it still is going to be putting the ball in Bitcoin's court. And you could see that he concluded by encouraging investors to consider that if 89% of all ICOs produced a negative USD return, and if IEOs are like the new hot thing, and they're starting to manifest the same trend, then what does this mean for the future of all of these IEOs, raising funds, and what does it mean for the future of these altcoins? So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to point out. But getting back once again to Bitcoin, I want to explain to you why it's different this time. But you know what? Instead of me doing it, why don't I turn it over to Brian Kelly and let him tell you guys instead?
Somebody has asked me whether or not Bitcoin is being traded like a macro kind of asset. I've said no until this year. What we're seeing this year is macro funds, traditional investors are trading Bitcoin as an alternative or a supplement to gold and using it as this kind of macro hedge.
And this isn't the first time that we've heard this. We've heard so many individuals coming out recently, especially people involved in hedge funds who deal with traditional traders, saying that yes, they are starting to consider Bitcoin as a safe haven, as a hedge, right? And on top of that, I just wanted to also mention the correlation between Bitcoin and gold, not in just the charts, but in the way that they're performing. Actually, Melissa Lee goes on to explain this as well, so I might as well just let her tell you.
The correlation between Bitcoin and gold also is sort of undeniable. I mean, this is a stat that I pulled out yesterday. The Bitcoin gold correlation in the past year has been 0.496. In the past 3 months, though, it's gone up to 0.827, implying a much tighter correlation between the two.
So the reality that you're seeing investors who treat gold as a store of value are finally starting to treat Bitcoin as digital gold, as a store of value, is definitely signaling to me that the tides are finally turning. They're finally changing for the better, guys, right? Also, really quick, BK also was talking about where he sort of sees Bitcoin's progression and how he sees it evolving, and he compares it to a startup. And I actually thought this was pretty cool too, so I'm just going to play this clip real quick.
So, you know what, I look at it as a life cycle analysis, right? So, in 2009, Bitcoin was a startup, and it's kind of gone through this phase where we are now as a commodity, much more like gold. Eventually, I think we'll get to the currency stage, and that's when it'll be used much more of a medium exchange. I do think it can still survive as digital gold. I mean, it's a $200 billion market cap today. Gold is a $10 trillion market cap, right? So even if it took 10%, you're talking about a 5x from here. So I think we will get there. It's just a life cycle.
So you can see he's wording it as Bitcoin's life cycle. And he was saying even if it was only to take a small fraction, just 10% of gold, you're still looking at a 5x from here. I know everybody wants their 100x's, but let's be honest, give it time. This thing is clearly catching on. But I want to show you guys one more thing on the chart before we move on to the news of the day, because there's something really similar with the run-up in 2017 that I'm noticing now on the 2019 chart. And like we said last night, a pattern is a pattern, right? I mean, it's a pattern until it's not. It plays out until it doesn't. Well, currently, if we look back at what happened in 2017, you could see we sort of formed this ascending channel right here. We could see we were bouncing from the top to the bottom, then we hit the middle, went back up, came back down, okay? But I want to show you what happened. We had a little bit of a sell-off right back here, right? And then we started to climb, and then we had this drop right around September. It was like September 2nd, and we fell all the way down 41%, okay? And then that was before Bitcoin basically climbed up all the way. It put in another 169% pump before it had this little pullback again, okay? But let me show you why this looks very similar to what we're seeing right now. If you actually have a look, we're putting in a very similar uptrend that we did back here. Now, not exactly, we're not hitting the tops and the bottoms at the exact same time, but you're noticing that we had this little pullback here, we had this little pullback here, we had our 40% pullback here, and just recently, Bitcoin had its roughly 35% pullback here. So the question is, if we are emulating what Bitcoin did back here, then we could be looking for another major move that we've been talking about. And if it does go to the upside, you could see a blast off of up to maybe 150%, 200% before the next significant retracement. So just wanted to point that out for you guys. Now, if we go lower, great. I'd love to accumulate some more. But if we don't, I just want you guys to be prepared and understand that once we cross these certain key levels, there's not a good chance that we'll be coming back to these lower levels. So I'm not trying to create FUD or anything like that. I just, dollar cost averaging is the way to go. But if you're still just sitting on the sidelines and you're not buying Bitcoin, I mean, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, worst case scenario, we're probably going to end up being supported by this parabolic trend. And even if we were to come straight down here, yeah, you're looking at about $10,000, $9,900. So, I mean, if you want to wait, you can. But not financial advice. Do what you want. Do what you want. Anyway, in an interview with Yahoo Finance, Tim Draper actually recently announced the launch of this thing called Grit XNG, which is a boxing gym, apparently, that accepts Bitcoin now. He's talking about his Bitcoin prediction of $250,000 by the end of 2022. He says, I'm hedging a little bit. Maybe we need to push it back to maybe Q1. It might be Q1. So guys, $250,000 Bitcoin, we got to put it on hold for 1 quarter. Can you guys wait it out? Can you wait 3 more months? All right. So basically, he was talking about being the first customer who paid in Bitcoin at the gym. And he says, I was a little, hesitant to do it because I know what the stuff is worth. I think I paid about $36 worth in Bitcoin, but it'll probably be worth $360,000. That'd be pretty incredible if we went that high. But he says right here, it's interesting. It's consolidating more than I thought it would. And I kind of agree. We have been going sideways for a very, very, very long time, putting in a lot of consolidation. So I think that's why I believe that the move is going to be extra massive because of the amount of consolidation. A lot of people have been accumulating Bitcoin at these prices, right? And we've had a lot of opportunity and a lot of time to do so. So that is basically that moving forward. But talking about some other fundamentals going on, you have Bank of America saying that they think that the Federal Reserve may rely on quantitative easing, right? As early as the fourth quarter of this year in a bid to create liquidity and stimulate the economy. AKA, we're going to flood the market with tons of money. Okay, so yeah, it's inflation. No easy way of putting it, right? The Fed had begun cutting interest rates. We know that, and obviously the next step is to start printing money because that's how we solve it in the good old traditional way of doing it, right? Well, not in Bitcoin land. You also have some analysts believing that the looming no-deal Brexit will push Bitcoin to an unprecedented breakout record high of 2019. Now, this is for all of my viewers from that region. Nicholas Gregory, CEO of block firm Commerce Bank, even predicted it could fundamentally shift Bitcoin's place in the global economy. We've already seen it as the 11th largest global money in the world. Talked about that chart yesterday. So the prospect of a no-deal Brexit has already caused the pound sterling to lose value against other major currencies. You have Boris Johnson. He came out and vowing that the UK will do or die leave the European Union by October 31st. So that's a way to celebrate Halloween, right? He said not only will the no-deal departure from the EU create turmoil and volatility across 2 major fiat currencies, it will also trigger an identity crisis for the global system as the contingency and vulnerability of major global fiat currencies is laid bare. I guess that's just more bullish news for Bitcoin. But so here we go. Again, I thought we already came to a conclusion with this India stuff. Now we're having a problem again. In a recent court hearing that was set for August 8th, the government of India has asked the Supreme Court to postpone the hearing against the cryptocurrency ban to January 22 as they wish to open a blanket ban bill for discussion in the winter session of Parliament. So it says the counsel for the Indian government has argued that cryptocurrencies will potentially be outlawed in the country as the draft bill for a blanket bill will be passed in Parliament between November of this year and May of next. Once again, is there any of my Indian viewers out there that can tell me what was going on? Because just last week I heard everything was fine. Now I'm hearing this happen again. In fact, you actually had an Indian lawyer who specializes in blockchain. He leaked the draft bill that was called Banning of Cryptocurrency and Regulation. The document states that no person shall mine, generate, hold, sell, deal in, issue, transfer, dispose of, or use cryptocurrency in the territory of... Wait. So the bill says you can't dispose of crypto? So you're telling me if I own crypto and I just want to be a good upstanding citizen and get rid of it, I can't even do that? So what am I supposed to do? Anyway, ZebPay CEO believes that if the bill were to be passed, it could trigger a massive sell-off of around 40,000 Bitcoin, which is worth around $477 million at the time. But he does believe that this would happen slowly over time. It wouldn't just be all dumped on the market. So he does think that Bitcoin would be able to absorb it like a cushion. But yeah, I mean, we might see some, you might see some turmoil in the charts moving forward. So let me know what the heck is going on with India. Also, talking about some other news, the hackers that were responsible for the Binance hack back in May apparently are using a crypto mixer to launder the coins. According to the report by blockchain forensics firm claimed the hackers stole more than 7,000 Bitcoin, and they've been using this thing called chip mixer to funnel the crypto. Yeah, you could see basically they aggregated clusters of 10 Bitcoin transactions. So far, they've identified 150 of them. What's actually interesting, though, is while actually probing into the Binance hack, they accidentally uncovered some laundered Bitcoin from another hack that happened at Bitpoint. They found 1,032 Bitcoin that was part of that hack in July. So while trying to actually look at Binance, they were able to find some other stuff as well. So once again, guys, stop doing illegal things with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not anonymous. It's pseudo-anonymous, okay? But they can definitely trace it back to at least the addresses. And if you could put a name to the address, well, you're screwed. Stop doing illegal things with Bitcoin. Everybody knows that, that's what cash is for, right? Anyway, if you want to read it, they do have the full report here. It's actually not that long, but yeah, you could see like how they did it and how they mixed it all around here. But, like I said, it's still traceable. So anyway, don't do illegal things with Bitcoin. Also, Chris Reinstein, I'm going to end here because I think this is good enough. He's the chief marketing officer over at Rhythm Technologies. I mentioned him the other day briefly. He recently argued that Bitcoin is now being treated, once again, buzzword, as a safe haven asset by investors looking to hedge against global uncertainties. He says there's a flight of capital to safe haven assets across the board, which now includes Bitcoin. Throughout the last few years, we've been seeing the trend of Bitcoin increasingly becoming fundamentally correlated to more macro moves as increased economic uncertainty in the world increases. So that being said, no, I don't want to see a financial global economic meltdown. I'm not rooting for it, okay? Trust me, I don't want that to happen, but I'll tell you what, if it does happen, I am very happy that I'm hedged in Bitcoin because I do believe that Bitcoin is going to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest store of values the world has ever seen. And yeah, you guys know, you watch the channel, you know how I feel. Been making videos every day on this. So it's Friday, guys. It's actually a beautiful day in New York. Go outside, celebrate. Just, have a picnic. I don't know. What do you guys do on the weekends? Whatever you want to do, go out, have a good time. Stop checking the block folio every 5 minutes. But let's see what's going on with Bitcoin. Do we have a breakout yet? Not yet. But it does look like possibly, by the end of tomorrow. So we should be seeing something pretty massive on the charts. That being said, thank you so much to everyone who's been liking, subscribing, commenting, everybody that's been turning on the bell notifications, joining the Telegram group. It's absolutely free. We just hang out and